Chapter 28 Bidash, 9th of March, present day. Genuinely heartsick. This whole situation sucks massive donkey dick. The old man, this murderous ancient I find it impossible to think of as the man who I thought died to save me, eases himself into the chair. His wince at contact with the cold plastic is impossible to miss. Aging is no friend to the body. Good. Fuck him. What happened to me? His voice wheezes, the lungs working hard as though the shriveled skin acts as bands compressing them, limiting their effectiveness. Not what happened to you, Paul. That much is sure. There's so much to tell you. I've waited so long to have you here to recount my side of the— Hold on a second, I interrupt. My left shoulder started to itch, so I tried to scratch it against the restraints. After some twisting, I realise it's fruitless, and all I'm going to do by thinking about it is make it worse. Ignoring it is the only answer. Settling back down, I realise Ben is staring at me, waiting. What? I ask him. You interrupted me. What did you want to say? Oh, no, mainly it was this itch. Oh, hang on. Oh, no, that's right. You were saying something about waiting forever, yada yada, right? He blinks at me slowly. That's correct. So yeah, what I wanted to ask was, why do you think I'd give a flying fuck? I turn a full watt beam in his direction to highlight the point. You're not Ben. Not my Ben, anyhow. That Ben was the best man I ever met. He wouldn't have used the wolves like that, wouldn't have set my friend on fire just because she annoyed him. Nope. Fuck you. Fuck your story. Not interested. And still, he doesn't stop looking at me, staring right in my eyes till I start feeling 1,000,000 times more uncomfortable than I did with the shoulder itch. You know that thing when you suddenly wonder if you've got food stuck between your teeth, and this whole time, while you felt like you were being charming and the centre of the conversation, it's only been because everyone's staring at the scrap of salami as it flaps back and forth like a flag of parley right in the middle of your mouth. It's like that, like there's something I'm missing. Doubtless that's true, but the intensity of his regard makes more than just my shoulder itch. Am I really not? His voice is low, barely above a whisper. Aren't you a new man, Paul, so far from that perfect you once were? But you still told me he'd know you, that ancient you. This is Ben. You're Ben, the same Ben who stood by your side all those years ago. You're marked by your misadventures, perhaps. All you're seeing are the results of mine, but at my heart, am I so vastly changed? There's a deep vein of emotion that runs below his words, soaked in pain and regret, and for a moment I do see Ben in this dried-up old husk of a human, the man who steadied my arm, who chided me to take care of myself, who made me laugh, who threw himself into Nisatas's path to save my life. All those decades of grief I carried, those nights where they were my only companion as I lay awake and mourned the death of my friend. But there's one thing that keeps me from going too deep into those feelings, a life-saving rubber ring that keeps me afloat from being submerged in all that guilt I've carried for so very, very long. It's anger, still white-hot, and I clutch it to my chest, holding it tight. And Aisha, what you did to her? Good. There's just the right amount of scorn in my voice. No way am I letting him know how much he hit home with those words. Perhaps he is still the same Ben, the young man so full of charm he could talk the birds down from the trees if he set his mind to it. Maybe that's all the good I saw in him was. Talk and charm. Ben shrugs, and some of the coldness is back. Perhaps because I'm not impressed by his persuasions. Perhaps just talking about Aisha. The Druze take it as a compliment. Incapacitating her was never going to be a simple task. That was the solution I came up with to remove a threatening piece from the board. Unbelievable. That's how you see this, is it? As a game? A thought exercise to see what you could come up with? You left her in eternal flames! I can't keep my temper. The words roar out of my throat, tinged with my fury. The old man shakes his head, almost amused, and in that moment, any slight sympathy I might have felt evaporates before my anger. That's a very religious image for a man who gave up his faith. He chuckles, and I'd like to tear his fucking tongue out. Also, overly dramatic. It won't be forever. She'll get free eventually, more than could be said for either of us. What? What does that mean? Perhaps not the wittiest of ripostes, but that's an ominous turn of phrase if ever I heard one. Well, we'll get to that, Paul, but I've waited all this time to explain myself. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps at the end of it, you'll still not understand, still hate me blindly. But until I get to the end, your little Aisha will be a human torch trapped on that bridge. So may I continue, or do you want to tell me to fuck off some more, huh? No. Hold on. Yes. Fuck off. Fuck you. Fuck off, you fucking fuckhead. Fucker. Fuck. I spit, the saliva having built up with the words like I'm rabid. Aisha would have appreciated that. Makes it worth it. He leans forward, stick splaying with him precariously. I can only dream it'll slip out from under him and he'll brain himself on the cold floor tiles. Of course, I'm not that lucky. We don't always have your chances, my old friend. I can't help myself. Oh, is this what you call lucky? I don't have my hands free, but I roll my head loosely around, indicating my current predicament. Hanging like a slab of meat from the walls with a load of corpses, listening to shitty monologues. I mean, I get some people are into BDSM and stuff, but honestly, if that's your idea of a good time, Ben, you need to get help. This is torture. His eyes snap to me, and I see a fire blaze in them, but he tamps it down, bringing up his neutral mask again. With a tiny grunt, he pushes onto his feet, then tap-stamps his way to me with his cane, slowly crossing the distance. Once he's next to me, he leans closer, his hand pushing a strand of hair behind my ear. Oh, this isn't torture, Paul. His words tickle my ear, the breath riding the curves to go deeper inside. There can be. We've all learned things over the years, haven't we? Things we aren't proud of. He runs a finger down the side of my face, tracing my jawline. Don't make me show them to you. Detail. The last word is a sibilant hiss that raises goosebumps on my bare arms. Fuck me. His intensity alone would be terrifying, combined with what I've already seen him do. Ice water chills run up and down my back. Of course, I will not let that control me. As he makes his way back towards his chair, I raise my voice. Oh no, poor Ben had it so hard he has to take out his misery on everyone around him. Wow, boo-hoo. He whirls, turning on his heels, the action of a far younger man, the fury in his expression giving strength to his limbs that age robbed them of. You ignorant fool! What do you know of my suffering? Did you think you were the only one who paid for what happened at Lavore? There was hardly any payment made by you, just, oops, I'm dead. Pick myself back up in a brand new body and carry on. There was no such luxury for me, just heavy payments to be made for your blasted arrogance. I don't get it. What payments? Oh, didn't you realise? The essence in the grail splashed across me when it broke. I was still alive. I came back too, but not in a dead body, fully grown, all ready for me to pick back up on some stupid adventure as you seem to do without a care in the world. No, when I came back, I couldn't move, couldn't see, couldn't even breathe. I came back fully aware, but into a fetus, swimming around in the womb of some wretched woman. Ah, damn. I never even considered the possibility of another form of reincarnation. Still, I can think of worse. Doesn't sound too terrible. Ben chuckles, a mirthless sound that is far more akin to pain than joy. Does it not? Easy for you to say. For me it was terrifying. I'd no idea where I was when I first came back. Do you know, I forced my unformed mouth open and twisted in such a way as to choke myself to death with the umbilical cord. Dying, wriggling and writhing in a seamless void, I thought myself in hell. Only more so when I came back a second time to a near, damn it, identical situation. Fuck. I'd not thought of that. And Ben's not finished. To be utterly helpless each time, immobilized, trapped with nothing but your thoughts and terrors for months on end, only to be born bawling into a world even harsher and harder than that whore-carried prison, unable to walk, to talk, a tiny little Lilliputian in the land of giants, servant to the whim of those who believe themselves your parent. I couldn't even eat. Suckled time and again till the very sight of a breast fully closed was enough to make me wretch. I died helpless that first time, and each time I died after, I had that same sensation, that same suffering, replayed over and over again. To be emasculated, utterly reliant on others when all I wanted was to be free, independent. As many would be happy at a chance of childhood again. The argument sounds weak, even to my own ears, considering there's a huge difference between being cared for, with all bills paid, to being an adult stuck in a baby's body. But I have to say something. There's no way I'm going to go along with anything he has to say. No way I'm going to feel sympathy for him. Not after what he's done. But good God damn it, there's a part of me, the empathetic part, that wants to. He spits and settles himself back into his chair with a groan. Do you really believe that? You know what life was like then. Not the pampered lives children live these days. No, it was suffering, struggling, hunger and misery over and over. Do you know how many times I died before I even made it to adulthood in a life after that first death? He leans further forward. 5. 5 times. Over 3 decades of infirmity, utter reliance on people who expected fealty and love I was incapable of giving before I could even be my own man again. And all the time, knowing what was waiting for me next time I died. He raises his head, and for a moment, there's something other than roomy waters around his eyes. Again, he stares at me like a child caught by a broken heirloom, willing the parent to believe their story. There's something even worse. I didn't just come into those bodies the moment they were conceived. I already had stubby little arms and legs when I arrived, and once I knew what was happening, unlike that first time of sheer blind panic, as I came back to awareness inside another accursed fleshy prison for months, with nothing but time to think. There. The flash in his eyes. There. I can see my oldest, dearest friend for a moment, and the hurt he's carrying is engulfing him. What happened to those children's souls, Paul? The words are barely a whisper, obscured by the tremulous nature of his voice, but the pain still carries through. Months sat bound and immobile in that dark, hellish place, wondering if I'd displaced them? Killed them? He pauses, and his gaze is so intense I want to look away, to close my eyes. I don't know. Whatever he's done, some part of that rests on my shoulders. Did I consume them, Paul? Now he closes his eyes, breaks the contact, and it's all I can do not to sigh with relief. When he opens them again, he keeps his gaze downcast. Misery, suffering, a terrible, fragile existence that faltered and failed, time after time, and always back to the terrible restraints of drowning in amniotic fluid with nothing but my darkest thoughts to keep me company. I don't know how I survived it. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure that I did. Not all of me. Not intact. Okay. So Ben definitely drew the short straw in the reincarnating drawer. That sounds shit, I'll give you that. Doesn't quite justify the whole, now I need to be an evil dick thing, does it? He shakes his head disbelievingly. Still, the little jibes carry on. No, you're right. I wasn't an evil dick at first, no. I thought maybe if I could live correctly, achieve perfection again, I'd escape all this. He waves his hand in the air, as if to encompass everything. The misery of existence. I even tracked down the last of the good people, Guillaume Belibast in Spain, got him to perform the consolamentum for me once more. Now his attention snaps back to me, and his upper lip draws back, pulling his face into a sneer. Didn't work. Couldn't make it stick, could he? No, Not once I'd already been made perfect before, not when that perfection, that chance for me to escape the physical realm, this sordid, shabby reality once and for all got stolen away from me by a man I loved more than my own life. Is this love, Ben? I can feel the pain I've carried in my heart all these years, the times I've mourned him. I'm mourning him afresh, seeing the man he's become. I loved you more than my own life. There's an insistence to his words, an intensity to his gaze, daring me to disagree. But that was one life. This endless, miserable, torturous parade of life after life I can't escape. Oh, that changed my love, transformed it into hate. And that's my fault. Don't get me wrong. I can see why he thinks it. The good God knows I've held myself responsible often enough, but nothing justifies what he's done. I'm not letting him get away with thinking it does. He's on his feet again, without even needing the help of his cane that he waves at me. You kept me here. Your actions doomed me. He breathes heavily, his chest heaving visibly, shaking with emotion. His face reddens, and for a moment I think he's going to have an apoplexy and drop dead right there on the spot. But he closes his eyes, gets the rhythm of his breaths back under control, and when he opens them again, they're calm once more, his icy mask snapped back into place. So you see, Paul, his voice is rigid, as a frozen corpse again. It's all your fault. Everything has happened. Everyone who's died. They're all dead because of you. The bile rises in my throat again, but I clamp it down. No, I'm not accepting that. You can't put this one on me, Ben. I'm sorry for your suffering, in a way, although seeing how you've acted, you deserve a fuckload worse. But you take responsibility for your own actions. Many people would consider what you've got as a gift. Then let them come take it. The mask cracks for a moment, but he pulls it back into place. No, they might say that. But if they lived what I've lived, they'd just want to die too. Ah, is that what all this is about? Trying to die? He smiles, wearily. Of course. What else did you think it was for? I'm going to die. And so, my old friend, are you.